Hey, what's up, guys? This is Two Nerd Sportscast. I'm Lee.
And I'm Joel. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Let's get into this because this is going to be the final day of talking about draft prospects until next week. We actually do our mock drafts. Let's get into it. All right, but we are going to cover some NFL free agency stuff first, like the Falcons signing Cordell Patterson and Duran Harmon.
I'm a big fan of Cordell Patterson for the Falcons. I mean, they they're just looking for playmakers at this point. And Patterson, every stop that he's been at, and I think he led the league in kick return average last year still, and he had to wait this long to get signed, which I don't understand. He's an elite kick returner, probably the best in the league right now. So that's
No,
great,
he's
great
definitely at
pickup for
least
the
one of the
Falcons.
best.
Oh yeah. And then Duron Harmon is a great depth pickup, especially since they let both their safeties leave and go to the Cowboys. I mean, Duron Harmon is just a quality player.
Yeah,
To pick him up this late is just it's excellent.
it definitely seems like the Falcons are now not as badly as the Lions, obviously, because they do have somewhat of a contender. But it does seem like the Falcons are filling holes. They're just trying to fill some spots with some decent players. And I mean, and very good at certain things that they do well. Like you're saying, like Cordell with the kick returning, and Harmon is a decent safety.
Mhm.
But moving on to Marquise Goodwin to the Bears.
I like it, especially with the uncertainty surrounding Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller now. With
But
both of them maybe not playing for them next season, they need some wide receiver depth. Goodwin definitely has potential. He was taking the league by storm just 2 or 3 seasons ago with his speed, and then he got traded to Philadelphia, and then he opted out last year, I believe, and has had a kind of up and down past 2 years. So high upside for the Bears, low risk.
yeah, no, most definitely. Uh, Miller is on the trade block, so they're most likely at least losing Miller. So yeah, this is definitely a good pickup by the by the Bears, not the Browns, by the Bears. Um, I mean, like they kind of have to do something, especially since they have Miller on the trade block. I don't see like the confusing thing for me is why have Miller on the trade block? I mean, I guess they're trying to get something for him, but like at the
It
same
doesn't.
time, huh?
It just doesn't compute. He's on a cheap contract. He's a good player.
Yeah,
It's not like he's in a contract year either, where you're trying to maximize his value. He's still got 2 years left.
yeah. Like
The Bears.
that's the weird thing to me with signing Marquise Goodwin. It's like almost saying that they're 100% getting rid of Miller and possibly Robinson, which I don't.
Hope they don't get rid of Robinson for their sakes, but for Allen Robinson's sake, I hope he gets the heck out of there. So
I mean, yeah. Um, But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, like that's the sus thing to me for the Bears. It's like, yeah, like Goodwin's good, but like you have good receivers. Why are you letting them leave? But continuing on to I mean, not a player re-signing, but a coach in Mike Tomlin. Uh, I mean, I absolutely love Mike Tomlin. The Steelers, while I do not like them as an organization, I will say there probably have been one of the most consistently well ran teams. They
most
they
definitely, when you have 5 Super Bowls, you have to be pretty well run over time.
yeah, and I
So
think in the last 50 years they've only had 3 head coaches.
something like that. The only 3 head coaches since like 1969 or something
Yeah,
like that.
like
It's
it's
insane.
like
You see other teams go through 3 head coaches in 3 seasons. So
yeah, exactly. It like so I get it. I mean, this doesn't come now. Joel and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this doesn't completely take him off the hot seat. But I also think that Mike Tomlin's going to do what he needs to do to keep the job next season. So I don't think he's going to get fired. I don't think they're going to let him go next season. But this doesn't automatically mean that he's 100% safe.
Most definitely. They kind of had to extend him since he was going into the last year of his deal. Because if he does decently this year, and he's a quote unquote coaching free agent, other teams might come swinging with big offers for him because of the prolificness of him. So you extend him, and if you don't like it, you kind of say bye after this year anyway. Maybe he gets 2 more seasons, and it's hard to let a coach that's been there that long go into free agency next year. You
Yeah.
don't want to let him just walk away if you're not ready for him to walk away.
No, exactly, which is why I don't see it happening. But like, yeah, like if the Steelers do god awful next year, I could see them wanting a change of face at a lot of positions and staff and a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that's kind of like the big moves that happened this week. Uh, Now only one of our free agents that we have predicted has actually signed, and that is Aldon Smith to the Seahawks. And Joel was absolutely correct about this one.
So I got one. So we're
We're
both
one and one. We're 1-1.
okay
But also we have a lot to that still need to sign.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, so I was right, and I like Aldon Smith, but now we're seeing that he's in some legal trouble, which some reports came out that Dallas has known about this since around Thanksgiving, and that's why they chose not to bring him back. So I don't know if Seattle just didn't do their research or if they didn't think it was a big deal, but now a warrant's out for his arrest, and he has yet to turn himself in.
So it kind of becomes a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal now, and we might see him get cut shortly. So my prediction rightness might be short lived, and his career could be over again. Who
Yeah,
knows?
no, yeah, exactly. It's a very weird situation. Like good pickup by the Seahawks, except for this.
He may never play for them. So good
Yeah.
job, guys. Good job.
It's like the Seahawks finally do something good in free agency, and then
Either they can't catch a break or they don't know what they're doing, and I think it's the latter.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think unlucky does play a part into it, but they should have done a. They should have. If the Cowboys knew about this, they should have known about this.
Call some
Um,
references. I'm sure he has references on his resume, so to speak.
yeah, and also just to briefly touch on, I mean, I know we didn't predict this guy to go anywhere, but it kind of concerns one of our picks with um
Alex Smith.
no with Schwartz. We
Oh,
did also pick Alex Smith. Holy smokes, yeah. I was gonna say with Schwartz because I picked Schwartz to go to the Ravens, and the Ravens are talking to Villanueva, which I could see that being also a really good pickup for them, which then would probably discredit my Schwartz pick. But hey, but
but
moving
in,
on to huh?
in other news, though, Alex Smith
Yeah,
did walk away from the game this week. Sad to see him go, but that means our prediction for him it can't be
it's
right.
just there is none.
So he's gone now. He had a great career. I hope they rename the Comeback Player of the Year award after him. I
I
think he
mean,
deserves it.
it I could definitely see that happening, and like non-official awards, I would have to also award Alex Smith the unluckiest player award, at least in like the last 2 decades.
Most likely, the man
Like
has not had a fun career.
like
It's not.
every time, every season he had a breakout season. The next season he had a minor injury, got replaced, and then his replacement kept the job.
He kept getting shafted for no
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. Well, I mean, the Mahomes like kind of under. I mean, obviously, like,
Well, it
but
worked, sure, but they shouldn't have been trading up to select Mahomes in the first place.
I
I
mean,
mean, great on them for doing it. I'm not saying it was a mistake. I'm just saying it's like
it's
how unlucky
weird.
can you be that you trade that your team's going to trade up out of the blue and select the next NFL great, so to speak.
Yeah. That doesn't all like it was a very risky move by the Chiefs because they already kind of like not kind of they had an answer at QB. But the one that I'm more upset about is Jim Harbaugh and the 49ers. Like that's one of the reasons why I don't like when I was watching football, like I didn't watch football when I was really young, so I didn't really get to see the 49ers be ultra great like personally. So one of the first instances I have of the 49ers is them doing Alex Smith dirty with
And replacing
Kaepernick.
them with a scrub.
I mean,
Turned out to be a scrub.
Kaepernick played lights out that first season,
Yeah,
but he
and
did
then he was a
not
scrub.
pan out. But he did not pan out, and it is a mistake.
A
Like,
mistake of epic proportions for them. They had a Super Bowl contender, as we could tell, and Kaepernick ran it into the ground. So and now they're back and they seem to have screwed up QB again. So I guess
well,
they
hey,
used
hey,
up all
hey,
their luck
hey,
on Mantina and Stevio.
we'll talk more about that with the mock draft next week. We don't know what's gonna happen. There could be some reports that come out. You never know. I've personally with that just briefly before we get into the draft stuff, since this is kind of a segue into the draft stuff. I have been seeing a lot of conflicting reports about a lot of things when it comes to the 49ers. I have been seeing a but like it feels like they and Joel said this earlier. It feels like they moved up for Mac Jones, but now they're like trying to see other options because people are upset about it. But it does feel like they're still going to go Mac Jones, but they could definitely go Trey Lance or Justin Fields. And me personally, I have tweeted this numerous times. The 49ers should pick Fields. Fields, there's no reason that man drops below 3. There's no reason that man should not be the third quarterback picked in this draft.
100% agree.
But moving on to now ranking draft prospects, we are going to be talking about cornerbacks first. We got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it with Patrick Surtain the second.
All right. I, for one, for obvious reasons, I'm a big fan of Patrick Surtain. I mean, he's been mocked to the Cowboys left and right for months now. And so I kind of have to be a big fan of him because there's a strong likelihood that he's going to be our pick. But when you actually get down into him, he has great measurements at 6'2", lengthy, scary arms as a corner. He's absolutely shut down, fluid in coverage, great acceleration and speed, and he can match every NFL wideout as far as I'm concerned. Whether they're huge or they're speedy, he's going to match them all, stride for stride. Elite IQ and a route understanding. And another cool thing with him is just an added bonus on top of everything is he's got NFL bloodlines. His father was a Pro Bowl corner. I mean, you can't go wrong when a guy has bloodlines like that. He's probably going to, at the very least, be well coached because he grew up with a dad in the NFL.
So I'm going to assume S.
Oh, most definitely. It's yes and S. Uh, Negatives with him, I was hard pressed to find some. He could do better in goal line scenarios. I saw some issues down on the goal line with wide receivers being big and being able to out muscle him on occasion. And he does tend to have some penalties for being overly physical, which is it's not bad that he's physical, but sometimes he crosses the line.
Yeah.
And he did have
Yeah.
4 pass interferences in 2019. As far as
Yeah.
comparisons for him, that's pretty obvious. You can when you look at him, it's like, oh, this guy's like the second coming of Byron Jones or Jalen Ramsey, and that if he is the second coming of Byron Jones, it makes too much sense for the Cowboys to get him. Uh,
It it
Another
should
landing spot for
make
him,
too much sense for the.
yeah. If Denver stays put at 9, I would like to like. I don't want to see him go before the Cowboys pick, but another team would be Denver at pick
Yes.
9. That would make a lot of sense for them as well.
100%. I also obviously have Patrick Surtain in S tier. I I I disagree with you on one thing about his game. I did see him in a couple things when I wasn't looking at highlights. I tried to look at. I've been trying with the having more and more time to prep for certain things. I've been trying to look at more things other than highlights. I did see him get beat like couple of times deep. Now, like it may not like it could have been because of the speed. It could have been just because he missed it or something. But it he was beaten deep a couple of times, and that was, I mean, everyone's beaten every now and then, but I'm just saying it's not perfect lining up speed for speed, like step for step. He
Not
is
all the time.
sticky though. He is sticky though. I will say that he can stick to the receivers. Like he is very good at diagnosing the route running and then staying on that route. Just there's been a couple of times where he misses, but again, everyone does. There's a reason he's an S. Like I'm not docking him. I'm just saying that is one thing that I noticed. But like, I mean, almost everything else. I mean, it's almost like what can't you say about him? Yeah, he is NFL ready corner right now. Like at least as your number two corner. Easy. Starting. But continuing on to JC Horn.
I have J.C. Horn as also an S tier. So I do not put guys in S tier very often, as Lee knows. I'm hesitant
I'm
to do that,
assuming
but
behind though.
yes, he is behind. He is S2, but I understand people putting him above Patrick Surtain. I get it. I just personally don't. I prefer Patrick Surtain, but I totally get the preference the other way. It's really just personal preference. Notes on J.C. Horn. He also has the NFL bloodline, son of Joe Horn, and I love Joe Horn. Joe Horn when he used to play, so that's cool that we're seeing his son in the league now. He does have, unlike Patrick Surtain, he has a beast dog mentality. That number one corner that's going to be out there trash talking every wide receiver and running that defense and being the guy making the media comments. He's going to be that guy. Uh, cool thing with him is he can line up in the slot and outside equally as well. You don't see Patrick Surtain's not going to be a slot corner. He's going to be an outside corner. J.C. Horn could do both just as well, and he can match up with any wide receiver also, whether it's Hill or Hopkins, like speed or giant. It doesn't really matter. He's he just plays like whatever wide receiver he's covering. So excellent. He's an excellent film study, is what I've heard. Amazing ball skills. Should be a turnover machine if he continues to progress. Not quite there yet.
Yeah.
His ball skills are wonderful, but it's not like as good as it could be. Uh, Negatives for him: he does struggle with tackling on occasion, and sometimes he has good route understanding, but he tends to guess a little early, and sometimes he gets it wrong,
Yeah,
and that
he,
leads
he
to
he
mistakes.
bites a little early sometimes.
So he gets excited,
Yeah.
and the good receivers will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And he also, I noticed, he did not get called for it a lot, but in the NFL, the refs are a little bit stingier with it. He grabs a little much, which is part of the dog mentality where he's fighting annoying the wide receiver, but he's gotta back that off, otherwise he's gonna have a lot of holding penalties.
Gotta
Uh,
learn better when to grab.
yes, it's got to be more sneaky. He's not very sneaky with it.
Yeah, not not
uh,
not currently.
yeah, as far as comparisons for him, I have him as a bigger, better Kyle Fuller, is what I see. And then landing spots for him, I see Philadelphia as a large possibility if they don't go wide receiver, and then Dallas if Patrick Surtain's gone, or if they prefer J.C. Horn as the secondary possibility I have down for him. And then also, I don't want to steal Lee's thunder. It's kind of his idea, but once he put it in my head
Uh
with
oh.
the Falcons and a trade back, I just it if the Falcons trade back from four, like with Denver or something, J.C. Horn just makes a lot of sense.
Like I understand the so I'm going to really quick. JC Horn for me is above certain. I am fully in the Horn camp. I freaking love this dude. This guy, like, he does have a couple knocks on his game, like Joel was saying. He tackling may be a little bit better, a little too grabby. And I did say that he breaks up passes, but he doesn't come down with the ball, which it would be nicer to see more of those interceptions. But like the intangibles of this dude, like his attitude, I love that beast dog attitude. Like I love that Richard Sherman kind of just like in your face. Like I'm like that wide receiver is going to know that I'm on them the entire game. Like I love it. I love it. And yes, I think it would be amazing for the Falcons to trade back, get JC Horn at 9, because now I know with Dan Quinn there wasn't ever really like that big loudmouth on the defense, but I like not saying that you have to have it, because I mean it is there is something to say about having like a humble defense, but at the same time like having somebody like JC Horn be able to lead that defense, and the Falcons be able to really build that defense around him, have him as a cornerstone, I think that would be insane. I'm gonna calm down a little bit, and we're gonna move on to Caleb Farley. Where do you got Caleb Farley?
I have him as my number one corner in B.
Okay.
Um, so the only reason he's down in B is because of his injuries. You gotta talk about his injuries. He's tore his ACL back in 2017, and now he has semi-major back issues. So he had issues with spasms 2 seasons ago. Then he opted out last year, and now he's having to have a microdiscectomy.
The
Why is his back so messed up? Just why? He didn't even play last year. He should have been
Yeah.
getting healthy, taking care of the surgery long before the combine was rolling around, pro days, all that stuff. I know there wasn't a combine this year, but pro days. Uh, it's a little sketchy. But if you remove the injuries from the equation, like you have to do with so many of these dudes, great length and fluidity of motion, great athleticism, hand fighting skills are just off the charts. I just love his hand fighting. Great ball skills, not afraid of contact. Uh, a negative I have though is, in spite of his size being so great, he somehow manages to make it a negative because he plays standing straight up, and guys will get around him and use leverage against him, and it doesn't go well. He just doesn't know how to have any bend. He just big lanky 6'2" or what however tall he is, dude. And he walks and he runs like that. And he does tend to lose track of the ball on occasion. And when he does, he gets very, very sloppy. And he has way too many missed tackles that cost his team points. It seems like that's the only time he misses a tackle is when it's all on him and he misses the guy and he goes and scores. That's the only time he misses. The rest of the time he's fine. It's like the pressure gets to him.
Yeah.
As far as a comparison, when I watch his game, I see a lot of Jimmy Smith in him.
Okay.
And
Okay.
landing spots, I do think he's still going to go in the first. We could see him have a big, big tumble, but I totally see the potential. If a team is willing to look past the injuries, he's definitely a first round corner. Uh, and landing spots for him, I don't see him going earlier than Arizona, but Arizona would make a lot of sense, especially if the other two corners are already gone. And then towards the end of the first round, I have Buffalo down to put him opposite Tre'Davious White. That could be scary.
Talking about like the end of the first round, I could also see the Saints pulling the trigger on that too.
No, that
Um,
that would make some sense.
so I have him in the bottom of A again because of the injuries, and like I did put a couple of negatives. Like people are wondering, is he a one hit wonder? You know, he had that one great season and then didn't play this season. Um, he can be late at tracking the ball, but like when he does track the ball, he normally comes down with it. If that makes any sense. Like can be late to it, but is good at keeping his eye on it when he sees it correctly. He's good at blitzes. He's good in the run game. I like him a lot there. He's good at closing separation. He is big and fast. He does stand a little straight sometimes. but he is really fast. I like him a lot, and I do think he goes at the end of the first, which is why I still put him in A. But I could see him maybe dipping into the second round, but it would probably be early second round. That would be my guess. But moving on to Greg Newsome the second, another second.
I like Greg Newsome. I have him in A. He does have some mild injury suspicions. He has managed to miss time in every single season, which is a little scary, but they're all minor injuries and they're kind of all over. So he'll miss a game here, a game there, 2 games here, kind of thing. So not a huge concern, but just something to watch. Um, he, the biggest thing that leaps out to me when I look at him is he's an absolute pass breakup machine. He's had 10 plus in every year, even when he's been playing in limited action. I think in the last season he only played in 6 or 7 games, and he still managed to have 10 pass breakups. You don't you don't see that. If he manages to have 10 pass breakups a season at the next level, he's going to be routinely in the top of the league as far as that statistic goes, and you just love to have that. Other notes on him: he's elite in the short range routes, but he can struggle with deep routes and does get beat deep, and his deep speed is a bit of a question mark. It's fine underneath. He's fine in pursuit, all that kind of stuff. But when the wide receiver is making those fly routes, he loses a step. Um, but I think that's more development issue with him. Like he's never really been asked to do that because he's played a
That
lot of uptight, close to the line of scrimmage stuff. A lot of their opponents don't really throw it deep. You don't really see many college QBs that can throw it quite that far, so it's not really as much of a concern. So I think he will develop that. I have faith in him. Uh, he's a good tackler, has good footwork. He's good in run support. Another minus sign on him is he panics too often and he does commit penalties. He's had 7 pass interferences in his last 14 games. But positive note, I think he might be the best overall man coverage corner in this class. A lot of these guys are really zone or cross scheme kind of. In man, he is elite. He allowed less than a 31% catch rate when he was in man. You
I
just
I
don't.
was I was literally going to say that. I had that written down. Like
Yeah, you don't see that. That's awesome. He, as far as like comparisons for him, he plays a lot like Marlon Humphrey or Marshawn Lattimore, and I'm pretty confident he's going to go mid to late first. I have the Titans down as a nice spot for him. They're going to need to be replacing basically their whole secondary, and he could definitely be the guy for them. And then I have the Bills down again. Put him. If the Bills can manage to snag a corner to put opposite White, it's going to be. It just pushes their defense to the next level.
yeah,
It's
no,
almost
it
game
would.
over for opposing passers. Tre'Davious White's just so elite. If they can have even a semi-elite corner on the other side, it's too good to
No,
be
no,
true.
no. Yeah, that would be insane. There's a couple of things that the Bills can do to really push them to that next level on the offense and on the defense. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with their pick. If they move up to try and get somebody that they really want, or if they kind of just let the chips fall and kind of just pick either the best offensive talent or the best defensive talent to just. But moving on to what where I have Greg Newsome, I also have him in A. I have him above Caleb Farley in A. I really like Greg Newsome. Another thing I wrote on him is that he is also sticky. He has great technique. He has great toughness. He's a tough player. He doesn't shy away from hits. But I was also going to bring up the penalty thing where he grabs too much. He really does do that. And so that's a little bit of a knock on his game. But again, with just some proper coaching, um, I think that can be fixed real easily with him. And honestly, I really like the Cardinals to take him over Caleb Farley. Um, I,
I
I
can
I
see it.
think I think there could be 4 or 5, maybe even more corners going in the first round.
Yeah.
Um,
Arizona would make a lot of sense. I'd love to see him end up in Arizona.
that would be so nice. But moving on to Asante Samuel Jr.
So he's another cornerback with NFL bloodlines. We're seeing a lot of NFL bloodlines in this class, and I'm loving it. Uh, he is a bit small. You can't help but notice that when you watch him. He's definitely on the smaller side as a corner, but his father was too, and it worked out just fine for his father. He has wonderful footwork. He's elite in man coverage, and despite his size, he's a great tackler. He's a very very scrappy player. Um, I absolutely love his physicality and just his mentality as a corner. He when I watch him, it's like he's treating every play like it's the end of the game. Super Bowl's on the line, fourth down. That's how he does every play, and I would love to have a player like that on my team. Uh, issue with him is he might be best and possibly limited to being a slot corner because of his size. So the question becomes, do you want to spend a first round pick on a guy that's going to be a slot corner almost exclusively? Because I don't see him being successful on the outside. And he does have issue getting his head around on occasion when he's on the outside, and especially slot, you can kind of watch the QB a little bit more. Outside, you're a bit more isolated. It's you versus the wide receiver, and then when the ball's thrown, you have to get your head around. He struggles, so I think that's masked by him playing in the slot. Guys that he reminds me of, he he looks like an exact clone of his father, but that was too obvious, so I had to come up with another one, and I came up with Brent Grimes. He could be a lot like Brent Grimes and have the similar success in the slot. Landing spots I have down for him, Green Bay in the first would make some sense. Also, the Chiefs. The Chiefs could snag him in the first. They just need defensive talent pretty much everywhere.
Yeah,
They're bleeding,
yeah.
and that would that would be almost perfect. I had a hard time deciding, but I ended up putting him at the end of A. Is where
At
I
the end
put
of
him.
A.
Mm-hmm.
All right, all right. I'm a little bit different on Asante. I think he has that high upside, but I think there is a floor to him, and that floor can be kind of low. So that I'm a little I'm putting him in B. I will say that I'm putting him in B. I like him. I now all of this is to say that I like all of these corners. Any corners that I put here at B or C is just because I really feel like they're going to be going in that round. They're going to be going round two. I really feel like if I put them in B or if I put them in C, I really feel like they're going in round three. That's the main reason why I'm putting them in these. I do like all of these corners. I think this is a solid corner class. But moving on to Asante Samuel, yeah, he's very small for his position. That is it's rough to overlook sometimes with him in particular because I mean he does have great things. He's very physical, and because he's very physical, he doesn't allow too many yards after the catch, which is very nice to see. But again, another one that is too grabby, and I feel like he needs to improve versus the run. So for those reasons, I'm putting him in B. Moving on though to Eric Stokes.
Eric Stokes. Notes I have down on him. He's a very opportunistic corner when you watch him. He does need better technique just all around. His technique struggles, and he needs better eye discipline. Obviously, the other thing that leaps out when you watch him is just his elite speed. You saw it at his pro day. I mean, he blew away, and you're just how fast is this guy? But when you watch him on film, he plays fast, but then sometimes he's just hesitant because I think he lacks high level diagnosing skills. So he doesn't play as fast as he could. Maybe with better coaching, maybe we're a scheme where he doesn't have to think as much. He could really showcase how fast and elite his speed could be. Um, he needs to trust his instincts more. I see him diagnose things correctly, but he does. It's like he doesn't have faith in himself. He does have good ball skills. He's very physical. He has special teams upside as a gunner, which is very cool, especially when you're looking at somebody. I do think he should go in the second. He is in B, by the way. That's
Okay.
where I think he should go is in the second round. Uh, he's just not as good as he could be, but that special teams upside is cool, and if you can snag him in the second, the very least, you're getting an elite special teamer.
Yeah.
Um,
Real quick, behind or in front of Caleb Farley?
behind,
Behind. Okay.
yeah. Uh, so he needs to also be in the run better in the run game as a tackler. His tackling struggles, and overall, he's just raw. The one note that I did seem to notice about him is somehow he manages to be in the right place at the right time pretty often, which is weird considering some of those other things I said about him. Which I don't know if that's just pure luck, and that's kind of how I'm leaning with him.
Or
But
scheme.
yeah, I mean, he's got a big old question mark for me on what he's going to be, whether he's going to be good or not. But when I watch him play, he reminds me a lot of Josh Norman. And landing spots for him, I actually have Norman's ex team in the Panthers in the second round as an ideal landing spot. I could
Okay.
also see the Cowboys picking him up. Not the biggest fan of that move, but I could see them doing it, especially if they don't end up going corner in the first round. And that's what I'm going to say about a lot of these corners, just
Yeah.
because Dallas and corner, you gotta consider every single one of these guys.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So for me, I have him in B as well. I have him behind Asante Samuel. I like him a lot, but like you said, he needs polishing. Like he's very very raw. But he does have great vision, great speed. He is a little weak against the run, and I think he plays the receivers a little too much and not the ball. Like sometimes he doesn't go for the ball as much as just trying to either knock the receiver off their route or get him out of bounds, which is fine. Like I'm not saying to not do that, but as a corner, you also need to play for the ball. Like you need to come down with those interceptions. Um, but he does, and now this isn't a negative per se, but he normally beats people with his speed and not his strength.
He's a little bit too reliant on it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not necessarily bad, but he needs to know how to use this as a strength instead of as a weakness because it can be used as a weakness. Um, but I do like him a lot. I still definitely think he goes in the second round easy. Um, but yeah, I mean, other than what Joel said, I don't really have much else to say about Eric Stokes. He's good. But now moving on to Tyson Campbell.
So I'm not the biggest fan of Tyson Campbell. I really don't like him at all. Uh, he's had a various shoulder injuries, uh, and that's a little bit suspicious to me. Not huge, so not as bad as someone like Farley, but notes on him: he has good athleticism, good agility. He's really good in man coverage, struggles in zone, just period. He has a good understanding of routes overall, but when I watch him, he makes brain dead plays and just struggles randomly. So like last week with Micah Parsons, I really dislike players without a high IQ, and I don't think he has an IQ like on the level of some of these other guys. And it's like he takes plays off. It'll just
Yeah.
he'll be playing great the whole game, and then just two or three plays in a row he'll get beat every time, and you're like, are you sleeping? Something going on with
Yeah.
he's inconsistent as a tackler. Sometimes he's great, sometimes he's not, and that's what screams to me about Campbell. Inconsistent, just overall. Needs polish all around. Cool things with him. He offers good slot and outside play flexibility. He can do both pretty equally as well. He does lack the production of a top prospect to me, though. You want to because of the NFL, it's that much harder to be productive as a corner. When you don't see someone being, and like edge rusher, like I was talking about last week, when you don't see the production at the college level, you can't really expect to see. So he could be just fine, but he's never going to be productive. Comparisons for me when I watch him play, he's got similar measurables too, and he plays almost exactly like William Jackson III. Um, and then landing spots for him, I do think he's going to go in the second round to either I think Denver would be a fine landing spot for him, and also LA because they're going to be looking LA Chargers.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking to replace Casey Hayward in all likelihood, and he's relatively similar to him. So I do have him down in C. Is where I have him.
I also have him in C. Um, for basically almost all the same reasons why you just said. He is very raw. I think he has higher upsides though than maybe what you think from what you just said. I do think he has huge upsides if he cleans up his game, which is why I almost put him in B. I almost put him in the bottom of B because I do think he's going to go in the second round. But I do think he's so raw. He's just such a raw talent that it's hard for me to put him in B. But I think he does have great upsides, and if a team can unlock that, great. Like I think he can be a baller. A team is just going to have to unlock it in him. I really feel like. Um, and moving on to Elijah Molden.
All right, so I love Elijah Molden. He's one of my favorite corners in this class. I have him up in A as my second corner in A. Uh, he's undersized at 5'9". Just you got to admit it. But he plays a lot bigger than 5'9" when you watch him. He does offer great athleticism, but not the elite speed. But what he just manages to play faster than he really is and keep up with guys. He's excellent in run support and as a tackler. He projects best in the slot, but unlike Asante Samuel, I do think that he can play outside and be okay. Um, so when I watch him, he also has great instincts and ability to read the QBs. And coaches absolutely rave about his character and how competitive he is and what a leader he is. And you love to see that. He was the. It's hard as a corner to be the leader of the defense, but in Washington, everybody says he was the leader of that defense. Um, he always manages to find the football every time. Every play, he knows what's going on. He knows where the football's at. He does struggle a bit in contested catch situations, which is mostly due to his size, and he's a little bit underweight too. I think if he put on maybe 8 to 10 pounds, it would help him out against some of those bigger guys. Um, and just the more I watched him, I watched probably the most tape on him than any of these other guys. It's The more I watched him, I just kept bumping him up my rankings. I started out with him at the top of B, and I was like, okay, you're going up to A now. Okay, now you're my second corner in A, and I was almost tempted to put him above Newsom just after continuing to watch him. Uh, he will be the best slot corner in this draft, and he has all the makings of a team captain. When I watched him play, it reminded me a lot of Chris Harris Jr. and a little bit of one of my favorite players from back in the day, Orlando Scandrick with the Cowboys. I would love to have Dallas pick him, but I can't do another one to Dallas. I think he goes in the latter half of the second because of his size. Uh, to either the Bears would make a lot of sense. They're going to be looking to replace Fuller, and then also the Bills again. Gotta say the Bills again. Put him with Tre'Davious White.
So we have a completely different view on this guy. I have him
Oh
at the
no,
bottom of C.
are you? Whoa. Okay, my feelings are
I
hurt.
so here's the reasoning, okay? Again, it's not that I don't like him. I do. I think he's great. I just think he is out of these guys right here that we are looking at, I think he is the most prospect. Like he is the most like just raw and like it's hard to tell whether or not a team is going to want him as a corner or as a safety. Like I saw a lot of reports about people just not knowing where he fits,
I
which
get that. I do get that.
which
But
which is which to me now again it's not a huge knock on him, but I think it's the fact that a team needs to pick where they're going to have him and sorry, I can't really get my words together with this. It's just I just wrote down the word prospect by the way, and I'm trying to extrapolate on that. Um, it again, it's just I feel like it's risky with him. That's what I'm trying to say is that it's risky because it not really knowing where to put him. Now, if a team knows exactly where they want to put him, I think he goes up higher. But because of that, I think he does fall to the third round. Specifically, I think he does fall to the third round. I mean, there's quite a few teams that could grab him, and I do think it would be early in the third round. I don't think it would be too late in the third round, but I do just see him because of just that rawness with that. I do think that he falls that far. He does have some great intangibles, though. He is smart and instinctive. He is very agile and has great vision.
Don't
And
forget that leadership.
no, yeah, yeah, of course that leadership, yeah, 100%. I do like all of that, but sometimes some of the best leaders were picked in the third round. Like I like some people do sleep on them. The people do sleep on that aspect of somebody's game. And so,
for
which is
sure.
why I don't like. Again, this is no knock on him. I think he's going to be great in the NFL. I think a team just needs to figure out where they want him. And I think that scares teams off enough that he drops that far.
Fair enough. He could go as late as that. I could see. I just if a team like I would love to have an interview with him. Just
No, yeah,
oh my god,
no, yeah, no.
I'm fanboying over this man.
Again, like I really like him, and I get like watching the tape, and like I mean, I was enamored by his tape as well. It again, it was just when I was looking at some reports that I was looking at, it was just it made me second guess, which is why I have him this low. Again, that's the only reason why I have him this low. Is just because it's such a toss up on like where he's going to go. But moving on to Ifeatu Melifonwu, I hope I pronounced
Ifitu Melifonwu, I think.
Melifonwu. That's
Yeah, I learned
actually
his
no,
name.
it is Melifonwu.
Yeah, I learned how to say that name with his brother because I was a big fan of his brother, Obi Melifonwu. I know he turned out to be a bust, but at the time, I was a big fan of him. Uh, and equally, I'm a pretty large fan of him. I do have him in B though as my second corner in B. He obviously, when you look at him, he offers amazing size, and he can play either corner or safety. And part of the reason his brother failed though is because they never found a home for him. The Raiders didn't. They couldn't tell if he was a corner or a safety. I think Melifanu might be better as a safety. Personally, I've seen some people that think he's better as a corner, but what they need to do is just stick him in one, just make him have a home, um, so he can actually learn. He's a and part of the reason I think he's going to be better as a safety is because he's such a physical tackler and he's just suffocating in the underneath game. He matches up well with every tight end. Yeah, corner, he's not going to get to utilize that part of his game. Um, and he does tend to play a little bit too loose in his deep routes, and he does lack elite footwork, which you need to see from a corner. Safety, you can kind of mask those things. He offers an elite understanding of angles, which is pretty cool. You don't usually see that quite as much in college prospects. He's going to be great in his own scheme, and he offers neat flexibility to play any DB slot, like I was talking about. He can even line up in the slot some as like a giant slot guy, and even some as like maybe linebacker hybrid. He does need to up his interception numbers, but he has the potential to be just such a real ball hawk with a nose for the football. He could go as early as in the first to the Bills. I see some Richard Sherman in him, but I do think it's more likely that he goes in the second, somewhere like the Jaguars, like right at the top, the tippy top of that second round, somewhere like the Jaguars or even the Falcons, if they don't manage to get somebody in the first.
No, that is entirely fair. Melifonwu, I also have him in B. I was debating between either having him in front or behind Stokes. I have him just behind Stokes. Just. It's very close to me. He is very sticky. Um I feel like he just needs a little better anticipation, and there are some injury concerns with him. But he is very physical. I really like that. I could definitely see a team like obviously pulling trigger on him in the second round. Like these three dudes, like when I was talking earlier about like maybe like five possible more corners, like I could see Asante going in the first, or yeah, going in the first, and then these two going in the top of the second, like easy, easy, easy. I do really like him, but like I said, he is a little bit of a developmental kind of guy because I like I said, I don't think he has that anticipation. Excuse me. Um, but he is very physical, and I again, like I said earlier with Horn, I love physical dudes. I love that about his game, and I do think he's going to be a very good playmaker for wherever he goes. But moving on to Aaron Robinson.
Um, for Aaron Robinson, I have him in B. He's my third corner in B.
So
Uh,
ahead of Stokes.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, third guy in B.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so with Aaron Robinson, first thing that strikes you is he's got great size and great speed when you watch him. And another cool thing about him is he could also play all DB slots. He's gonna be that kind of like Swiss Army knife type defensive back that you just wherever you need him that game, that's where you put him. And that kind of thing, it just stands out to me as like a guy that's going to be like a coach's best friend. That you're going to play over here today. No, you're going to play over here today in practice
Yes.
and in games. Anytime there's an injury, oh, you're playing here now, and that and that's cool. And he can play all of them equally well. Nothing elite, but all of them equally well. He's also probably going to be a special teams ace, which is cool when you're looking at a second or a third round guy. You want them to be able to contribute in every way that they can, and he will definitely maximize his opportunities. Um, he improves. He struggled as a tackler at the beginning of his college career, but he's improved every year to me. So it's not so much a negative as it is a positive to me. He's a great hitter with like real oomph when he hits people, and it's like, oh, that's going to leave a mark every time he makes a tackle. Great angles, great in press coverage. He does tend to overcommit on routes, especially ones with a little bit of misdirection in them or whatever, a little bit of shake. He's going to overcommit. Uh, he's good in zone and in man, about equal. This is his thing. He's kind of good at everything. Decent, but not elite ball skills. I do like him better as a safety and like a slot combo where he does both, play safety slot. That's where I think his
Okay.
best home is going to be rather than on the outside.
That's
And I
fair.
do think he's going to be a great steal for somebody. Even though I do think he's going to go in the third round, when he goes in the third round, he's never going to be an elite star or anything like that. But on the team he's going to be on, he's going to be highly valued.
Yes.
You know, he may never make the big bucks, all that kind of stuff, but he's going to be like a essential cog in the team, basically. Uh, he's pretty unique, and I had a really, really hard time coming up with a comparison for him. The closest I got was Xavier Howard, the absolute closest I could come up with, and it wasn't really even all that close because he's so
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
Uh, Landing spots I have down for him. I'd like to see him end up somewhere like the 49ers. 49ers just need help all around their secondary. Richard Sherman just left, some of their other secondary injury issues, all that stuff. So he can play everything. And then also Denver. He can just kind of plug in wherever Denver needs. They have some guys that are getting older, might be leaving soon, and he can kind of and maybe work his way up to be a real starter for them shortly.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I have him behind Malaf. Ooh.
Melifonwu.
Yeah, I almost said that with an A to start. I don't know why, but yes, I have him right behind him. I do like Aaron Robinson a lot. I do think he's a little weaker in zone than man, personally, just between the two. Um, but he does have great size and speed. It's again, I just think he needs that polishing. It again is just a very developmental guy. Like you said, he does get baited sometimes and just needs a little bit more of that acuteness and that awareness and that breakdown. And I do think that will come. I think that will come very easily, or not very easily, but like I definitely see him like living up to the challenge. I do see him developing very well, and he could be very good for whatever team. I do like the thought of him going to the 49ers. That could be a good spot because again, like plug and play where you need him. That could be very good. I do see him going in the second round. Like as you can tell, I have a lot of people in B. I do feel like there's going to be a lot of these guys going in the second round. I feel like there could be a run for it in the second round and early third.
All of these, I think we have 11 guys that we're talking about or something like that. all of these 11 guys could easily be gone by the end of the second round. It's entirely
It's
possible.
insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Um, but moving on to our final guy with Kelvin Joseph.
So I have Kelvin Joseph at the top of C.
Okay.
Um, it's to me a lack of experience with him that mostly puts him down there. You've said raw about a lot of these guys, and
Yeah.
I haven't quite so much, but he's raw with his lack of experience, and also there have been a few reports of a lack of maturity with him, both on and off the field. He's tends apparently to be a little bit of a crybaby, uh, so that's a little scary. Um, but moving away from that, he has great build. Obviously, when you look at him, he's good in press coverage, excellent ball skills. He does lack an understanding of routes, especially complex ones. If he's going up against a team like the Chiefs or something like that with their complex route trees, he's going to get smacked. He's going to be a liability out there. He is a scrappy tackler when it matters. He's going to get up there and he's going to get dirty. Does have poor footwork though, and he struggles to find the football sometimes and to get his head around. Um, he's good in run support overall though, and with polish, he could be a good starter. But I'm just not confident that that polish will ever show. Closest comparison that I could come up with for him is a guy named L'Jarius Sneed, if you guys know who that is. And he's just he's a high risk, high reward type prospect. It screams third rounder. He should go in the third round, and like we talked about the second, all these guys could be gone by the end of the second, but he needs to go in the third round. And landing spots that I came up with him would be Arizona in the third, and also the Saints. I think if Sean Payton got a hold of his face mask and shook him around a little bit, then maybe we could see him mature and become a real player.
Yeah. No, 100. This is one of the one of these later dudes that I think we are 100% in agreement on. I put him in the bottom of C personally. Just because he is the rawest of all of these talents, in my opinion, 100%. He has great size, speed, and he's very athletic, which are all intangibles that you can't teach, which are really good. But he does lack that consistency. There's a consistency that is very much lacking with his tackling and his reading of the route skills. Um, he like I said, or like I just said, he has trouble reading the routes, but he does do well playing for the ball. Like he does go after the ball, just he's not always in the right spot because he he misread the route. He is very aggressive, which I think kind of adds to that. I think it's a less controlled aggressiveness, like some of these other guys. Like again, I like that aggressive attitude, but it has to be a little bit more controlled. With him, very inconsistent. Which is why I he is the rawest of all these talents, and which is why I put him at the bottom here. I agree with Joel wholeheartedly. I think he should go in the third round, which is why I have him as the bottom of the C, because these other two guys I can definitely see going in the second. That's the main reason why I have him in the bottom.
That's fair, yeah.
But that is going to be our cornerbacks. Let us know if you like it, if you hate it, whatever your thoughts are. But we are moving on to the safeties, which I'm going to say right now, I'm a lot higher on the safeties than I am the corners, honestly. Um, and we will
I'm real
go.
high on the safety class too. They're getting hated on by analysts for no reason.
No,
And
yeah, I think they are. Um, like I told Joel earlier, and Joel said I took the words right out of his mouth. That basically, I really feel like the safety class is just getting overshadowed by the fact that the team needs right now are like quarterback, offensive line, and corners. Those are the real team needs right now. And there's not that many teams that need safeties, so they're getting pushed back on big boards. But if we had the same number of teams that needed corners or needed O linemen, I could see like 12 safeties go in the first 2 rounds.
Well, okay,
Like
that's a little
I
steep.
said, could. I said could. I said could. Because I think
I
there's
mean,
gonna be close to that many O linemen going in the first 2 rounds.
yeah, and that's how it always has been. O linemen are overvalued, and safeties, frankly, are the running backs of the defense. They get shafted. They're mostly underpaid for how good they are in the league. Like Justin Simmons just became the highest paid safety, and he's still not paid anywhere like those top corners or top edge
No,
rushers. And he's just as valuable to the
no,
Broncos.
he really is.
Safeties.
Um,
So I am all on board with undervaluing running backs, and we have talked about this before. I'm fully there. Safeties, I don't get it. I love
I mean,
safeties.
mostly
I
because
love them.
I agree with you. Mostly because safeties have normally longer careers than running backs.
Yeah, and part of me might be a little bit biased because I played mostly DB when I used to play football, and I played some safety and mostly corner, but some safety, and I always appreciated the heck out of safeties. So I'm a little bit biased there, but
But yeah, let's get into the draft with, I mean, easy the best safety with Trevon Moehrig.
there
I
should be no
mean,
debate from anybody.
I I
I
I,
have seen some people not put him as number one, but there should not be any debate. He is S tier easy. He's an absolute alpha safety, absolute ball hawk and playmaker. He dislodged so many catches that I lost count. Forceful player.
I
Just
Dude,
I
and
love
he
him.
wins battles. He just wins battles. He goes after the ball. He can cover wide receivers deep. Like, and he's big enough to get tight ends too in like up close. Like, great vision, good balance, and hands. He unlike what I was saying with like what corner was I saying that he didn't come down with the ball enough.
Was it
JC
Asante's
Horn.
name?
J
Oh,
J
JC.
JC Horn, where I was saying he needs to learn how to get that ball hawking skills into catches. Trayvon Moehrig gets them into catches. Like he steals balls out of the air. It is insane.
He's so fun to watch. He You don't see many standout DBs where you're just like, ooh, I like watching this man, but he's one of them.
No.
And the other cool thing about him is before he became a star, he was a grinder. He was a standout on special teams, and that's how he got his time. And you just love to see that. He's got the mentality of a guy that's always going to be working. He's you just I use the word scream a lot, so not trying to overuse it. I want to shout that he's going to be the next elite safety. I think he's going to be a top five safety very shortly, and personally, I think he'll be in the running, if not win, defensive rookie of the year. That's how high I am on this man. Uh, he's the one negative I could find for him is that he does take poor angles in open field tackling. That is the one knock on his game that I could give him, but with time that comes when you start to understand stuff a little bit more. It's whatever. I might as well
Especially if
just say
somebody
no
with
negatives.
especially if somebody has a great defense and all they need is this final piece. Like
You can't not take him. You can't not. And even if you don't have a great defense, he could be the centerpiece of your defense.
no. I'm not saying that, but I mean I'm saying like when you're talking about developing that the
Okay. That he'll
what
learn from other guys
yeah, like
and
he
pick it
could
up. Yeah.
easily learn from the other dudes if you already have a great defense and a star safety is the final piece that you need. Like
Yeah.
easy. Easy.
And he also just has a high IQ naturally, and he loves to bait the quarterback. I love seeing that in safeties. He toys with them. And I hope he's able to do that at the next level. Obviously, NFL QBs are just in an absolute another level compared to college QBs in general. But he baits them, and it's hilarious to watch. He knows what they're gonna do. Um, as his play style reminds me a lot of Jesse Bates, but Jesse Bates is good. Don't act like this is Jesse Bates hate. But he's gonna be another level from Jesse Bates. I think personally. He should, if safeties were valued, he should be a top 10 pick. He won't be. He's going to probably go in the middle of the first, even maybe even late first, which I think is just, it's stupid.
And it's
Uh,
criminal.
yes, landing spots for him. I I put Dallas way too often. I know I do. I get it. But if Dallas trades back, a little bit. I would even be okay with them picking him at 10. That's how much I like him. Is it maybe the best thing? Possibly not. But them trading back, love it. Or trading up from their second round, because I'm a believer that they're going to be aggressive with their second round pick. Uh,
That is
another
fair. That is
landing
fair.
another landing spot I have for him is the Jaguars with their second pick of the first round. If they
Yeah.
could get him to be the dog and the leader of that defense on the back end, Jacksonville Super Bowl bound.
No. Yeah. I mean, it would be like, yeah, the Jacksonville
Offensive and
Jaguars
defensive
could
rookie of
easily.
the year on the same team. Woohoo!
No. Yeah. Yeah. Um. Uh. One team that I think could be a dark horse to try and get Morig, and this is only if they trade OBJ before the draft or on draft night, are the Ravens. If they trade Orlando Brown Jr. and they swap first with anybody like Chicago, Washington, or the Vikings, all three teams that need an offensive tackle, if they can swap first and maybe grab their second as well, I mean, they would have to grab more than just swapping first, or maybe just grab their first and still keep the 27th pick. Whatever deal that they do, if they can get a pick ahead of the Jaguars, I think they could be a prime candidate to grab him as well.
If they could
Um,
snag Marig to pair with Marlon Humphrey, they're gonna top five offense, top five defense type conversation.
no, yeah, it's gonna be insane. Like I like Trevon Morig a lot. Um, but I do more. I mean, again, that him going to the Ravens was only if they do that trade. If they don't do that trade, I could, because I don't think they're going to move up with their first without doing that trade. If anything, they're good. They're going to move back to get more second round value. So I do see the Jaguars most likely picking him. I do think he falls to 25, or maybe a team like Dallas does be super aggressive and tries to get back into the first round, tries to get ahead of the Jags. I could see
Or
that too.
if they trade back
Or
for
if
an
they trade
overly
back with their
QB
first,
needy
yeah,
team,
yeah.
they could pick him at say the Patriots trade back with the Patriots to pick 15.
Oh yeah,
Certain
no,
and
pick
Horn will
15
probably
would be
be
a nice
gone by
spot.
15. Yeah, if they can
100%.
snag him at 15, pick up an extra second or third, they're walking away sitting pretty.
Yeah.
So
But let's move on to Javon Holland. Uh he's good. He's very,
yeah,
very, very good.
I was tempted to put him in S. I was really close. I left him in A though. He's an athletic safety, good ball skills, very aggressive. And but the reason I had to put him in A instead of S is because he's so slight of build.
Yeah.
He's skinny and he's small, so that could be a knock on him. Um, he's still developing a little bit, but he could become great. He's got a really high floor to me and a really high ceiling, which is what's cool. Because he's already good. He offers great versatility and can play on special teams too. Could play some slot additionally and some outside corner. He's one of those guys that kind of can play him everywhere, especially when he's just looking for snaps at the beginning. It, he will make a name for himself. He's very productive, amazing instincts, but again, coming back to the size, it's far too often a disadvantage. He can get out muscled, get shoved out of the way, get just run over just too often. Then that's
Yeah.
the only reason I couldn't put him in S. He's a
Yeah.
great worker, though. I think he will manage to put on some pounds, build some more muscle. He's going to do his best to be as strong as he can at the next level, and he has great IQ. When I watched him, it took me a little while to come up with a comparison for him because again, he's fairly unique, but he reminds me a lot of Drew Bly back in the day, or Dre Bly, however you want to say it. Landing spots for him. I think he deserves to go in the first, at the end of the first. Now, whether he does, not totally sure. He could go, I think he would more likely go in the second. Landing spots that I have for him because I'm so hesitant of where he's going to go, because he could even fall further back in the second because of his size, because teams really don't like small safeties. Landing spots I have is the Raiders and also Washington.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's entirely fair. I also have Holland in A. I mean, He's so good. He has great timing. He's a great run defender. He's very versatile. I really like that, and he does go after the ball a lot, which is really nice. Um, Now, I was saying that more. I would dark horse see Ravens get Morig. But I have seen a lot of people say that they think Javon Holland is a better fit for the Ravens. I could see that. I do think Holland can will go in like the middle of the second, which I mean the Ravens could trade up, but I mean there are like those other teams like you said, Washington that could definitely grab him. Uh, 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 Earlier in the second round, other teams could also want to grab him if the Jaguars do pass on safety in the first round, which I don't think they will. But if they do, and somebody else gets Morig, then they could go with Holland. A bunch of things could happen with Holland because of his size. It is hard to say exactly where he's going to land. He could also make appearance on the top of the first. It's or bottom of the first, not top. Bottom of the
Yeah, I
first.
was like, whoa, 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 whoa,
I
what are you saying here?
flip it, flip it. Top of the second, bottom of the first.
There you go.
Um, um, and unfortunately, a lot of people that I rank in A, I do see going in the second just because of that undervalue of the safeties. But I can't in good conscience not put him in A. I can't. Uh, but moving on to Richie Grant. Where you got this guy?
Richie Grant. So I have him in A also. Second safety in A.
Okay.
He's great in coverage, obviously, when you look at him. Some people I've seen have him as a number one safety in this class, which I think is stupid.
I think
Just
yeah, that's a
I
little
saw that frequently though.
that's a
He's
little
because what they're looking for when they say that they're looking for traditional safety, and he fits that very well. He's very traditional high safety. He's a willing tackler, but not an elite tackler, not an elite hitter. But when you get into the pass coverage side of things, great ball skills, reads the QB well. He's also another safety that's capable of baiting the QB, and he calls out screens, which I like. He's able to diagnose screens with just such a quickness that I love it. Um, High IQ, good leader, quick learner. All of his coaches have always loved him. They rave about him. Um, but then once again, when you get back to that other side of his game that you need to look for when you're looking at a safety with is his run coverage. Doesn't have great speed, and he's blocked far too easily, and that bothers me. If it doesn't matter if it's a running back or another wide receiver, if an O lineman gets it on it, it's all over. But if it's a running back or wide receiver just blocking downfield, he's done. He's out of the play. So he's
yeah,
gotten relatively good at evading blocks, but if a guy gets his hand, he's done. It's like he doesn't know how to shed them.
yeah.
So another knock on him. So I don't want to put a whole lot of stock in this, but some people are. Is that apparently a lot of busts come out of UCF at safety,
I saw that too. Yeah.
and I kind of looked into it a little bit. Kind of makes sense, but I don't want to put too much stock in it. He needs to be judged of his own merit. I'm a strong believer in that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't like that college curses or like that this coach just can't, you know,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it either.
yeah.
I see the reasoning behind it, but I just want him to be judged on his own merits. And overall, there's not a ton of things wrong with him. When I watch him, he reminds me a lot of Trey Boston, and landing spots for him is so. I actually have the Ravens in the first down for him because I do think he might go in the first. And then also I had the Lions down in the second round as a team that would make a lot of sense.
Okay. So, I did tell Joel earlier that I might be a little too high on a certain guy. Um,
Oh,
just kidding. I actually have him in A. So Richie Grant, I do really like Richie Grant though. I do think he is better as a high safety. He is really good against the pass. I think he needs a little better understanding against the run. Um, and another nice thing though is that he does commit to tackles and he is good at recognizing repeated plays. Like your teams don't normally get off the same play off on this guy. If you beat him once, you don't beat him again on the same thing, which is really cool to see. I mean that is really nice. I have him just behind Holland though, just because I like Holland's more upside. I think Holland's a better prospect, but I think Richie Grant has a higher floor than Holland. So I could
That's
definitely
possible.
see a team picking Grant over Holland.
And
Easy.
that more has to do with his size, because the
Yes.
other
Yes.
Holland might struggle at the next level. Grant's probably not gonna.
E- exactly.
It
And
really
that's
depends on where you are as a team. Can you afford the prospect, or can you afford, or do you need a right now kind of guy?
100%. And teams with those better defenses are going to be the guys that can get Richie Grant. I mean, like you said, like the Ravens. I would even say people like the Steelers. I mean, I know that they didn't play all that well last year, but their defense still is their bread and butter.
Of the Steelers. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Pairing him with
Um.
Fitzpatrick would be wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I really I like Richie Grant. He's good, but I do think he just needs a little bit more tweaking to his game to be that next level. But I think he is one of the best safeties in this class. He's very very good. But moving on to Jamar Johnson.
Okay, so with Jamar Johnson, so this is both a positive with him and a negative, and I'll go ahead and say I also have him in A. I'm way higher on this. I have a more
Bottom of
tendency
A
to,
or
yeah, bottom of A.
okay.
Uh, I have a tendency with other position groups to rank guys like a slot lower than Lee does. I did not do this with safeties. I love pretty much all of them. So with Jamar Johnson, going back to his evaluation, this is both a negative and a positive. He, I put minor maturity issues. Now
Okay.
that's not really with how he behaves off the field, but on the field he lets the emotions get the better of him. He's gotten ejected twice. That number should be zero for most
Yeah.
players, or
Yeah.
maybe once if there's one small slip up. But twice, he should have learned the first time. Uh,
I mean there was that one guy, oh man, I can't remember what he played, but he got ejected out of a game for quote unquote spearing when it wasn't spearing.
I looked at he kind of it was one of them was an ejection for fighting. You
Yes,
can't you
yes.
can't explain away that one. The other one I can maybe explain away a little bit, but moving on, I also like his fieriness though. You want that kind of guy that's gonna fight, and he's gonna, and he'll stand up for his teammates. He's a great teammate. Great ball skills when you watch him. Great vision, great IQ, willing tackler, and a strong tackler, but poor technique, which will running backs will be he won't be able to tackle them at the next level if he doesn't clean that up. Um, he can play corner and safety. And the cool thing with him is he's always in position when you look at him as a tackler and in pass coverage. It's rare to find him where he's not supposed to be. He's always where he's supposed to be. He does lack top end speed, so that's a knock. But he's elite overall in pass coverage, and it's really just the tackling that I struggle with his run stopping game. Overall, though, and that can grow with more
Yeah.
coaching, more time. He's still young. You gotta, this. He's not that far removed from high school when you look at him. So, got to give him a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, elite defenses, like the 49ers, like the Rams, the Ravens, the
I
Steelers, like
have the
so
Rams down for him.
yeah, yeah, like they could teach him that pretty easily.
If the Rams could somehow find a way to get him, that would be awesome because I almost put down I didn't quite put down John Johnson the third clone, but he's very very close when you watch him. There's small slight differences, but he's a lot like John Johnson the third. If the Rams can get him to replace John Johnson, it'll be almost seamless.
Yeah.
Uh, but I find it more likely that he goes long before the Rams even ever have a shot at him because they should probably not trade up for any prospects. They're already
They
out of picks.
they've already sacrificed way too much of their future.
Or they probably should not do it again. But hey, this would be one of the rare ones that I would not smack around on it too much, depending on
Yeah.
what they gave up. So I
Yeah.
find it more likely he goes somewhere like the Lions in the second, or possibly the Dolphins. The Dolphins could snag him in the second. That could be the final cherry on top to that defense. Make it really truly elite.
No, that's 100% fair. So how I baited you out last time, yeah, I'm not baiting you out this time. I love Jamar Johnson. I don't. I was just watching his tape and kind of like with you with the corner
Oh, now you're making me blank because I switched to
Molden,
safety.
Molden,
Molden.
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 Yeah,
We both came up with it at
like
the
how
same
you
time.
were Molden. That's how I am with Jamar Johnson. I kept watching his stuff and I was just like I had him in. I was like maybe second round prospect. Like he's probably a second round prospect. I should probably put him in B. But then like I looked more. I was like bottom of A. I was like behind Holland. And I was like no just put him all the way in front. So I'm gonna explain why. So he has great vision for the ball. He doesn't allow like yards after the catch. He's very versatile, like you were saying, can play corner or safety. He's very instinctive. He has great control, and an interesting stat: Justin Fields did not turn the ball over too much. He alone got 2 interceptions off of Justin Fields.
I did see that. That's impressive.
He has a high IQ. Yes, his
Justin
tackle
Fields will
technique.
be an NFL QB, so he's already shown that he can be successful against NFL QBs. So when you see that, that's A plus
Yeah,
plus over here.
he can be a bit impatient, and his tackle technique does need work. But he's so aggressive, and like I was saying before, I love aggressive dudes. I love this dude's attitude. It is amazing, and this is actually the guy that I am going to say the Ravens grab this guy. If you don't trade OBJ and get Trevon Morig, get Jamar Johnson. He is so good, and he just needs a little bit of tweaking. And like I was saying, any of those prolific defenses can easily help him tweak that little bit, and then just be off to the races. Just off to the races. I mean, holy smokes! I might be over evaluating this guy, but I like him so much. He's so good. He is so good. Um, but bringing it back down to earth a little bit, let's go to Caden Stearns.
Okay, so Caden Stearns, I finally have. I got to put a guy down and see. Have to do it. That's where he is for me. Uh, he has minor. So in addition to all the other negatives that I got for him, he also has minor knee issues. So knock there. Uh, he does have great size, great length, all the measurables, but his diagnosis and his IQ is just simply it's subpar, just overall. He's a good good tackler in the open field, great hitter. I'll give him that. But he's poor at ball tracking, not good at, he's simply not good in deep coverage. He's not going to be good as a deep safety. Uh, and he's when he's in traffic, he's too easily picked up by
Yeah,
blockers. He gets caught watching.
yeah.
He'll be watching the
I put
plays
he has
and
blinders on a lot of the time.
exactly. Yeah. And he regressed this last year from where he used to be. Um, as far as comparisons for him, reminds me a lot of a Kenny Vaccaro. I don't, and like Kenny Vaccaro, I don't think he'll ever live up quite to his true potential. Could be a good safety, never will be great. Landing spots for him, I do think he's probably going to go in the third round. Could see him climb all the way up to the second, but with safeties being undervalued, all this stuff, I do think he goes in the third round. And I have down the Bears as a landing spot for him, and I also have the Titans.
Okay. I like. I mean, not just because I also have. I still have him in B, but I will say right now he is the bottom B. I will say he is the lowest. Uh, um, I mean, spoiler alert. I have the other two in B. He is my lowest prospect. I do think he is the rawest of all these prospects. But again, I like these safeties too much to even put anybody in C. I like them too much. I like the flashes that Stearns has shown, but I do really think he goes in the third round, especially with this undervalue of safeties. He does leave a little too much space for runners sometimes. He doesn't change his direction super smoothly. But he has great length though, and if he can learn how to really utilize that to his fullest potential, I think he could be really good. He needs a lot of coaching, which is why he will definitely go in the third round. But moving on to Talanoa Hufanga. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Sounds right. Close enough. So with Hufanga, biggest biggest issue, like I have with a lot of guys, is the injuries. I'll toot that horn every day. He has a gigantic injury concerns, especially with his shoulder. He's already had two collarbone breaks on the same side, among other shoulder issues. That's not good, especially for a guy that's going to have to be initiating contact and somebody that plays like Hufanga does. That's his thing, is
Yeah,
contact.
yeah,
And I don't know that his body will survive very long at the next level. And he also has several concussions.
yeah.
So, uh, but moving on to just his game, he's a box safety with great potential as a linebacker too. Can be that kind of do both kind of thing, safety
Yeah,
linebacker. His brother actually is a linebacker in college,
yeah.
and he has a cousin that plays defensive line. So his family, I'm sure, when they were playing their backyard football, they're beat him up kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
He plays like it,
They're they're
and
they're
I
they're
and I
big
do
dudes.
like
They're big
that.
dudes.
Yeah. Um, great great production out of him. He's always, when he's on the field. Now he's not going to be on the field that much, in my opinion. But when he's on the field, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. You're going to have to scheme about him, knowing that he's going to smack you, and you're going to, those running backs and wide receivers, they're going to have little mini nightmares if they know he's going to be on the field the next day, thinking about how he's going to get smacked. Uh, he always seems to know what's going on when you watch him play. He's got a great head on his shoulders, takes good angles, always shedding blocks. Even if it's this gigantic hulking lineman, because he's big, but he's not like big compared to linemen. He sheds them.
No, yeah.
It's like they don't exist. Um, he does lack elite speed. Sometimes a bit too hesitant with his diagnosis, but he usually gets there, and it's okay. Um, so landing spots for him, I do think he falls down into the third round because of those injury issues. But if that can get cleared up, he's going to be a nice find for somebody. I have the Jets down. It just makes too much sense, because also my comparison for his game is actually Jamal Adams. He'll never be
Oh.
he'll never be as good as Jamal Adams.
No,
Don't
no,
take
yeah,
this
yeah,
as me saying that. But he plays a lot like Jamal Adams does. And he also offers that blitz capability
yeah.
when you look at him. I do have him in B though, because
Okay,
of simply because of the injuries.
yeah. I am 100% with you. I have, like I said, I have these other two guys, in B. I guess you all will have to wait to see if I put HN above him or not. But I do like him a lot. Like you were saying, I like you have to account for him near the line because he can rush and get through those defensive linemen so easily. Like as a safety, that's kind of insane. And so you are correct. They have to scheme for him when he is on the field. Now again, how much on the field is he going to be? That is
Remains to be seen.
exactly.
Yeah.
But he limits yards after the catch, so people don't normally get to further than him. Also, like you said, he has great vision, but he does get behind on the play because he overdiagnoses. I wrote that exact same thing. Um,
He's too heady.
yeah,
He's in his head, like watching the play, and he's like, "Oh crap, I got to do something."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think his a little bit of that instinctiveness of his body helps him get there a lot of the times, but he does stay in his head for a little bit too long. I think he needs to rely on his instincts a little bit more. Um, but yeah, no, I like him a lot, but the durability issue, it is a huge question mark. Which again, I could definitely see him going in the third round. I could maybe see him creep up into the second, maybe, but he's probably going in the third round. Um, but moving on to HN, Hamza Nasrildeen, not
Yeah,
Nasrildeen,
he just calls him HN. It's Nasruldine, I think. I could be
Naz
wrong.
Nasrildeen.
Yes, I think. With him, he's another guy with the injury sus. He's had two ACL tears. So I have him at the top. I have him a little bit above his buddy. So B1. Um, the cool thing with him though is each time he's come back from the ACL, he's come back stronger than he was before. So you got to give him credit for that. He's a very hard worker. Um, but moving into his game, he's very much a box safety like
Yes,
Hufanga.
yes,
Um, and he also will probably play some linebacker. Strong tackler near the line of scrimmage, but he struggles more in the open field with his ankles. If he's left alone out there to do his own thing, and this is why I think he's going to be better in those scrum situations as a linebacker where the angles don't matter quite so much.
okay,
He tends to struggle in the open field.
yeah,
He's a team leader and has absolutely great character, which is the only reason I put him above uh, Hufanga. I was real close. Um, and he just throws himself into every tackle. And to me, he looks like the kind of guy when I watch him that's going to be, if he's healthy, he's going to get you 100 tackles or more every single year. And that can never be undervalued. So you got to be looking at him in the second round. He would be cleanly in the first round conversation if not for the injuries. He can also cover tight ends. He's so versatile. Um, as far as comparison for him, I have Keanu Neal down. Reminds me a
okay.
lot of Keanu Neal. Landing spots for him, and I do think he's going to go in the second. And you could even start to see a tumble down towards the third round. So I think he's going to go in the latter half of that second round. I have the Dolphins listed as an excellent landing spot for him, and I have the Bills yet again as another landing spot.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Actually, the yeah, I do have him above Hufanga if I can.
Get him to go. What's
There
going
we go.
on?
All right, I finessed it. But yeah, like you said, he's very passionate. He every time he got injured, he worked so hard to get back, and like this past year, he worked so hard to just be able to get back for 2 games.
And that's cool. He
Like,
cared about his teammates enough to work because he could have just sat and been
yeah,
like, "I'm going to get healthy for the league," and no, he came back for his teammates to fight.
it was so cool to see. Um, Now he can be a bit inconsistent with his tackling, and he does get a little lost. But he has a great size to contest with tight ends. He's very aggressive. Like I said, I love aggressive people, and he goes after the ball. That like those are all really nice things to see in a safety. And I do think he's the best of these three dudes down here. And he could very much go in the bottom of the second. I could see that. I think he is probably the only one of my three and B that actually go in the second round. Because I do think the other two do fall to the third. Um, but but like I said earlier, I love every single one of these safeties. They are so much fun to watch. Um, and yeah, so that is going to be our safeties list. Again, let us know if you loved it, hated it, wanted us to add more people. Next year, we are definitely going to be doing a lot more research into guys like this, and we'll have it down a little bit better. Um,
Be more clean. We'll have a lot more dudes that we're going to evaluate because we'll have more time. We got a little bit of a late start this year, so there was only a few guys in each group. Maybe we'll even shoot for a 7 round mock draft next year. Get all of them down. That would be crazy. I'd love to do that. That'd be
that
so
would
much
be
fun.
insane. But I mean, hey, like it would be something that would be a lot of fun to do, and I would love to be able to chat with you guys while doing it. Maybe do it live. But moving on. So next week we're going to be doing a 2 round mock draft next week. Um, so you will finally see where we how we see this whole thing shaken up. Uh, and I will be the first to admit it. I'm probably going to be putting quite a few trades. So if any
He's been
one of those
working hard on
trades,
his trades. He's been
so
working
if
hard
any,
on his
if
trades.
yeah, if any one of those trades don't happen, obviously that changes like my entire draft. But I'm going. I want to go a little ballsy. I want to go a little ballsy with this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of trades in this draft. There's going to be a lot of movement in the first 2 rounds. But yeah, so look forward to seeing us do that. And then after all of that, we are going to be ranking all of the teams' drafts, like all of their picks. We're
Breaking
probably
down
gonna
every single
go.
one.
We'll probably go division by division, not do two at a time. We'll probably do one division at a time. Um, but yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. But that is going to be it for this episode. I hope y'all enjoyed watching, and let us know in the comments whether you liked our rankings or hated them. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, do all that good YouTube algorithm stuff. But until next time, we are peacing out. I am Lee,
I'm Joel, and we'll see you next week.
and this is Two Nerd Sports. Peacing out. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.